Good morning and welcome to the Livingston Parish News Morning Show here on Friday, September 6th. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. If you're watching this live, we appreciate that. If you are listening or watching somewhere else, appreciate that as well. We do upload these shows online, www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. They are free. So if you ever miss one, fall behind, you can always catch up there. We try to keep them 15 minutes or less, unless we have a guest, and then they might go a little longer. But anyway, we are online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We're in print twice a week, Saturdays and Thursdays. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. So we do appreciate you joining us this morning. We got a packed show before we head into the Friday football night in Livingston Parish. But first, your traffic. Currently heavy delays on 16 north and south of Live Oak High School, heavy delays north and south of Denham Springs High School on Highway 16, as well as heavy delays on Hatchell Lane with Denham Springs Elementary and Denham Springs Junior High. Westbound traffic on I-12 is backed up to Jubin Road. Also have delays stacking up starting at Jubin and 190. Also delays on 64 heading into Central. Heavy delays 4-H Club Road, 190, and River Road, where they come together on the west side of the parish. Now, your delays on I-12 do dissipate right about Sherwood Forest, and not too bad heading into Baton Rouge after that. Small delays after the 10-12 split. Weather today, it's currently 75 degrees. 98 is your high. Remember, we're still getting a lot of sun. It's going to be hot today, so please try to stay cool here on this Friday. We'll dip into the 80s tonight for football. Interesting situation yesterday in Denham Springs, well, south of the city. An overturned sewage truck ended up stopping up traffic on 4-H Club Road until right after 7:30, between 7:30 and 8. That was cleaned up. According to the police officer on scene, the truck had veered off the road, trying to make a turn, overcorrected, and ended up spilling, falling forward on a bad turn and spilling that sewage everywhere. Took almost 7 hours to clean up all of that mess. The master plan, which is the focus of our Thursday paper, that committee will meet Tuesday night, this upcoming Tuesday night. We have a feature on it that's, as we go forward between now and the vote by the parish council, which is adopting Envision Livingston, which is the master plan passed in 2013. We're kind of comparing what they're looking to do with what came out in that 2013 edition of the master plan. The first conversation is zoning. One of the interesting things that happened around that was in 2013, it was unanimously passed, which would be Envision Livingston by resolution, which is non-binding, on the back of a $450,000 FEMA grant. Immediately after passing it, a split vote 4-4 with Ricky Goff abstaining, that was presented by Mr. Ronnie Sharp. Mr. Sharp was representing the Springfield area. That 4-4 split vote pretty much killed the master plan after that. They were voting on whether or not individual districts should be able to run their own zoning patterns. Now, that was in the master plan, Envision Livingston. It said that, the parish itself should focus on coming together with regard to an economic corridor, which was 1.5 miles north and south of Interstate 12. So about a 3-mile stretch running through the middle of the parish. In that area, you would have zoning and a lot of focus on infrastructure, trying to bring in good commercial and industrial businesses, which of course would increase tax base and jobs. With that proposal, which was the second part of the implementation plan of zoning, which again would be giving individual districts their right to zone. With that squashed vote, the master plan never really came up again. It was discussed, but no more votes came up, and it disappeared. And so now it's back. Mr. Tracy Gerlinghouse has spoken to us here on the show, as well as done a long-form podcast. You can check those out, www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. But his interest is mainly zoning for his district. It kind of a free-for-all thing here. But it's interesting that it was in fact mentioned, not even mentioned, it was outlined in the original master plan that each district should be focused on their own zoning. I believe the people that wrote the original master plan were aware of the differences in growth levels and growth patterns here in the parish, so they wanted to give everyone their own option. So we will see how that goes. They gave themselves a month. That would be the current parish council gave themselves a month to look over the master plan. They will not be voting on it next Thursday, which is their first meeting of the month, but 2 Thursdays after. So that last Thursday in September, they will vote on whether or not they want to adopt the Envision Livingston 2013 master plan by ordinance, which is binding. So, and then we will see how they plan it out from there. The way they got there was after forming a new master plan committee. They met for about 5 times, and then what sort of pushed Mr. Girlinghouse to go ahead and try to adopt this is that they began thinking about zoning, drainage, and sewer parish-wide all together. The cost started going up, the time investment started going up, and Mr. Girlinghouse just thought, we don't have time to wait. We can't wait for that. We need this to happen now. So again, that vote will be 2 weeks from next Thursday, so 3 weeks from yesterday, if that helps you out. And we'll see where they go from there. But that's sort of the background on zoning. We will continue to sift through a lot of the issues that are discussed in the master plan and sort of compare them with what's going on in the parish right now. It is important to note that in 2013, the steering committee, as well as the consultants that put together the master plan, knew that there's a coastal issue there as well, even though we've just now kind of started talking about it here in Livingston Parish. Parish President Leighton Ricks, we talked about this yesterday. He did in fact veto he did in fact veto the grinder pump ordinance that was passed 8-0 the Thursday. I guess that would now be 2 Thursdays ago. And his issue with it was he received a lot of calls from local professionals, local real estate agents, that sort of thing, that binding them to that as opposed to going through the Realtor Association and getting the disclosure forms for a listing updated was an infringement upon their license, which is through the state. While that may not be legally true, at least according to Chris Moody, it is also according to Chris Moody, a door that the parish might not want to open legally, and it might be best to go another direction. After reaching out to the council and telling him what he had intended, the council will reintroduce the ordinance without the real estate portion at this next meeting, and Ricks went ahead and used his red pen to veto that. Now, on the other end as well, a lot of this came up. It was introduced by Mr. R.C. Bubba Harris of District 5. He has a subdivision inside his district called Serene Acres, which is on Wax Road, and they use grinder pumps. Now, those pumps did not have the proper electrical. They did not have the proper tank size. They did not have the proper inflow and outflow. They also did not have the proper horsepower to handle homes of those size. So he's looking to go even further with this on more ordinances stipulating how, if you do have a grinder pump, how big it has to be, how many horsepower does it need to be per square foot, those kinds of things. One of the interesting things that has popped up after doing some records requests is that subdivision sewer is actually managed and maintained by the city of Denham Springs after they had purchased the Greystone Country Club sewer system. So it's part of that system. Will be interesting to see if that ever went back into parish hands. We're still trying to figure that part out. So that will also be introduced next week. So lots of stuff coming up at the parish council. United States Senator Bill Cassidy was in Livingston Parish yesterday for a long time, I would know. Myself, along with Mr. Kevin Fambro, some people from the school board. There was a lot of us that followed him around for quite a long time. He started off at Holy Ground Coffee in Walker, talking about what's going on in D.C., some of the things he's working on, especially drug transparency, and the National Flood Insurance Program, moving forward with those reformations and changes. After that, he moved to the Walker Activity Center and learned about their new building that they have. It's 40 years in the making. It's a beautiful building. They are nearing completion on that via contractor John Blunt. And he applauded the Activity Center for creating opportunity for anyone to work within their community. That was a big deal to him. After that, he went to Denham Springs High School, where he spoke to AP government students. They had some good questions, some interesting questions. They asked him about Second Amendment, illegal aliens. They asked him about medical care and that kind of thing. They also asked him about vaping, which was an interesting conversation, especially, he is a doctor, but he's older, so it was an interesting combination there. You can read about those questions at www.livingstonparishnews.com/news. Kevin wrote that story. He then went on to the STEM and Robotics Center, which is now on Range Avenue. It's the old buildings from Southside Elementary that were built up in 2016 and only took a few inches of water. They now have things in there like robotics, digital storytelling, science classes. Very, very beautiful building, very cool building. And he got to check that out. One of the things he brought up during that meeting, and we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, either on this show later or on the live video. He said that perhaps instead of foreign language, we should be teaching kids computing language and coding language, that might be more valuable to them in the future. I know this morning on Twitter, Mr. John Cavalier, who owns a bookstore here in Denham Springs, made a comment that foreign language develops empathy and appreciation for languages and communications from other places. So maybe it should be a required course, but maybe we don't get rid of foreign language, or maybe you think we should. Interested to hear your comments down below, please. Football night in Livingston Parish is coming up. Yours truly will be at Live Oak Ponchatoula, shooting some photos, getting back into the saddle. Hope I'm not too rusty. But Denham will face Hahnville at home. They also have a special presentation for the 1972 football team. It will be at halftime, so check that out. Again, Denham is hosting Hahnville. Live Oak hosts Ponchatoula. Will have their hands full with their quarterback, Mr. Finley, who is an LSU commitment, so it'll be interesting to see him. Walker hosts Madison Prep. Albany hosts Independence. Springfield is traveling to Mississippi, so Mr. Rob DeArmond will be catching up with them later. Roberts United Methodist Church in Denham Springs celebrated their 125-year anniversary. You can read all about their celebration from Mr. David Gray at www.livingstonparishnews.com/living. Also coming up is a crew of Denham Springs who runs the Mardi Gras parade here has teamed up with Texas Roadhouse for an $8,000 donation, and they're having a cook-off, or had a cook-off. Let me double check here. They had a cook-off on Sunday, August 25th. But it's an inaugural annual thing. So please mark your calendars for late August of next year, 2020, because I'm sure they'll be doing it again. Delicious food, great time. So please check that out. One more time around the bend with your traffic here at 7:47 a.m., just in case you listen to this later. Watson is slowly draining out. Those folks are finding their way southbound on Range Avenue. The traffic appears pretty clear around the high school. Denham Springs, much the same, as well as Hatchell Lane. Now, of course, the heavy delays are backed up past Juban on I-12 westbound, going all the way into Baton Rouge, almost to Sherwood Forest Boulevard. Minor delays after the 10-12 split on I-12 westbound. Small delays on 64 heading into Central. Also some delays, but still minor, at Forage Club Road, River Road, and 190 in Denham Springs. One more time with the weather. It's currently 75 degrees. 98 degrees is your high today. It's going to be sunny and hot, so prepare yourselves for that. And it looks like that's going to carry through most of the weekend. Into next week, looking at some scattered thunderstorms next week about midweek. Again, thank you for joining us. This is your weekly Friday morning show, I guess, where we try to wrap everything up. We've begun discussions with some of the coaches on doing a coaches show for football. We're also next week going to try to get William and Rob in here at the same time, so maybe they'll a cappella style on our other mic to talk about the football games coming up on the week before. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you joining us this morning. If you watched us live, if you listened to us or watch this show later, I hope you didn't watch and drive. We appreciate that as well. Thank you. The news is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We post these shows live, or we post them online, www.livingstonparishnews.com/podcast. They are free there. We're also in print twice a week, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And again, we have an app as well, which follows the paid gateway subscription. If you don't want to pay the $5 a month, you just want the breaking news, we label all of our breaking news breaking so that you can see that because it is free. Again, appreciate you joining us on this beautiful Friday morning. Looking forward to football tonight, and we hope you have a great weekend.